Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. I'm excited for you to be here and I'm really excited for today's topic. Today, we're going to be talking about 10 action steps that will help you unlock your full potential. Whether you feel stuck in your routine or you're pushing yourself to the next level, these steps are designed to ignite that spark and help you grow into the person that you're destined to become. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. When people ask me, what is that I do for work? What is my job? I like to define it in one sentence. I help individuals, teams, and organizations to perform at their best and to grow to their fullest potential. That's my mission. That's my compass. That's my purpose. That's what guides me at work and outside of work, even here on the podcast. And when we talk about growing to your fullest potential, I get a lot of questions about how do we measure potential? What are the things that can indicate if I have potential or not? How can I tap into my potential? How can I grow to my fullest potential? Any variation of those questions I get quite often. And I have to say that the answer to that is very subjective because all of us have different definitions of potential, or we give different weight to different aspects that constitute what we all talk about and refer as potential. Today, I'm not going to talk about what are the attributes of high potential. Maybe that could be a great topic for a future podcast episode. But what I really want to talk about is some action steps that you can take to reach your full potential. See, I believe all of us, we all have unlimited potential. What differentiates those that get further in life, further in their careers from others, is how much we tap and realize the potential that we have. Even having unlimited potential is not a guarantee that you're going to achieve anything that you set yourself to achieve. It is a guarantee that you have that potential, but you need to tap into it and take action to really unleash that potential and realize that potential. And that's what I want to talk about today. What are the things that are under your control, things that you can do that could help you reach your full potential? And I'm going to talk about 10 things. I'm sure there are more than these 10 things, but I like nice numbers. It looks nice in the title of a podcast episode. Maybe 3 months from now, I'll do another episode and I share other things. But these 10 are the 10 that immediately came to my mind when I was thinking about how or what specific things I can do that are under my control that would help me unleash my potential. Now, before we jump into those things, I want to ask you a question. And that is, have you ever thought about all that you could accomplish if you strive to reach your full potential? Seriously, I want you to think about this. Have you ever thought about all that you could accomplish if you strive to reach your full potential? The weeks, the months, the years seem to go faster and faster. And if you just let things slip between your fingers day in and day out, you'll soon be years older and haven't realized or reached all the things that you want to accomplish in life. You look back and you'll think, why didn't I do that? Or I wish I had done more. Instead, you took advantage of every day in your life. You push yourself to do uncomfortable things and chase your goals. That for me is striving to reach your full potential. Only you know what you truly want, and only you can figure out your full potential. And I think that is important to keep in mind as we go through all these different actions that I want to share with you today. Okay, so let's go through those 10 actions that you can take to help you realize your potential. The first one I want to start with is you need to take responsibility. Where you are currently in life is directly related to your choices. A lot of times, either I see two things, or I see people who play the victim and they just think about, oh, I had a terrible future. I had a difficult childhood. I didn't have access to all the education or the resources, or I had a lot of drama in my family growing up. Whatever you want, right? They just play the victim role and they decide that their past is going to define their future. And that is a choice. They made that conscious choice. There is another group of people who are just waiting. And I see this a lot in terms of careers, right? I've been in HR for 20 years, had hundreds, if not thousands of career conversations with talents in different countries, all over the world, all stages of their career. And I see this pattern of people who are just waiting for someone to hand them an opportunity in a silver platter, someone to tell them what to do next, and they're just waiting. That's also a choice, right? And their life is determined by those choices that they're making. Their future will be determined by those choices that they're making. The past is the past, and there's no point in blaming anyone. I'm not saying that you are at fault for a bad childhood or any other circumstance that was out of your control, but what is the point of using that as an excuse anymore? Or what is the point of just crossing your arms and wait for someone to solve your life or your career? You are the person who is most vested in your success, whatever your vision and your definition of success is. No one can take away your ability to improve your life, your situation, your ability to make choices. We all have choices. Even when we think we don't, not making a choice is a choice. So the one action you can take to realize your potential is to really take responsibility for everything from here on out, and your life will simply become easier. If something is not your responsibility, but it still affects you, it is your responsibility to determine how to react to that thing. Because yes, it's true, there's a lot of external things that we can control. But there's one thing we can always control, and that is how we react to anything that is happening to us or around us. And that is a choice we always have. And when we take responsibility for our actions and we take responsibility for our future and our choices, then we are in a better position to tap into our potential. Okay, the next thing that you can do to unleash your potential is setting a clear vision. You need to know where you're going if you want to get there. It's that simple. Think about the times when you felt lost in life. It's likely because you weren't clear about your direction. Without a clear goal or a clear vision, it's like driving in the dark without headlights. I always tell people, if you want to get anywhere in life, you need three things. You need to know where you are today. You need to know where you're going. And then you need a route on how to go from where you are to where you're going. And here's the thing. If you were going on a field trip, this last week, I attended an event at work in Mexico. And it was at this hotel in Valle de Bravo. And actually, I was sharing the same analogy with the group I was with this week. If I just put in the GPS Valle de Bravo, which is a town in Mexico, the GPS would not have taken me to the exact hotel where this event was. It would have taken me somewhere else, right? Maybe near, maybe far from the point where I was actually going. The more specific you are with what your destination is, the better choices you'll be able to make along the way that will get you where you want to go. But you need that clarity of the vision. Ask yourself, what does my ideal life look like? Who do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years? When you define your goals with clarity, you can reverse engineer the steps to get there. The vision isn't just about big dreams. It's about aligning your everyday choices with your long-term ambition. A vision creates a roadmap. It's the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about today. If you don't have clarity on your vision, a lot of the other things we're going to talk about today are going to be really hard to implement or to take action if you're lacking that clarity. So if you haven't done so already, take the time today, this week, this month, to write down what you want out of life, or what do you want out of your career, and be as specific. Dream big, and most importantly, believe that it's possible. Those are the ingredients of a good vision that is going to serve as a compass, always pointing north, always knowing where you're going. Okay, once you have that vision, number 3, the third action you can take to unleash your potential is to get out of your comfort zone. I think this is one of the most important things, but often the most uncomfortable thing to do, which is leaving your comfort zone. I want you to think about the last time you truly pushed yourself. Maybe you tried something new, maybe you took a risk, or you confronted a fear. We grow when we stretch ourselves. And I don't mean just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. When you stay in your comfort zone, your life becomes predictable. It's easy, yes, but it's also stagnant. True growth happens when we change ourselves, when we challenge ourselves. Let me give you an example. When I started this podcast, I had no idea where I would go. I was nervous about putting myself out there, but I knew that if I stayed in my comfort zone, I'll never reach my goals. I'll never be able to reach to the people that I wanted to reach and make the impact that I wanted to make. I had lots of fears. I was so insecure because I had never done a podcast. I had no idea how to record a podcast, was insecure about how I was going to talk. I mean, I started the podcast. One of the reasons why I started this podcast is because I wanted to improve my public speaking skills in English as my second language. That was one of the reasons why I started. So imagine I have this limiting belief and all these fears holding me back, but I had this vision that I wanted to reach to people and impact people, make a positive impact in other people. I had a vision, but I was very uncomfortable. And every time I take a step outside of that comfort zone of what felt safe, I saw a new opportunity open it up. When I look back, and sometimes I go back and listen to episode 1 of the podcast, and I remember it as it was yesterday, and it has been 5 years now. That particular episode, I recorded like 100 times because I was messing it up every time. I was so nervous. I was so uncomfortable. It was not flowing. I ended up writing everything down and reading from a piece of paper. My ideas were everywhere. I can see how much I've grown since then, but it's been because I've been consistently stepping outside of my comfort zone, talking about topics that I wasn't comfortable about, or sharing things and being vulnerable, which was uncomfortable, stretching myself, reaching out to people to come as a guest to the podcast that in my mind, I'm like, they're not going to want to come talk to me. Who am I? Right? And I've had amazing guests in this podcast. The lesson here is growth happens in discomfort. If something feels scary or challenging, lean into it. That's your chance to evolve. That's your chance to grow, to continue to tap more into that potential. Because if you can think about something, if you can think about something as part of your vision, I guarantee you that you have the potential to realize anything that is in your vision. And every time that you step outside of your comfort zone, you're tapping into that potential. You unleashing that potential that is allowing you to get closer and closer. No matter if those steps that you're taking are small or big, but you're getting closer to that vision, that dream that you have. Okay, the fourth thing that you can do is to build consistent habits. Consistency is king. You have heard me talk about consistency so many times. And I know consistency can sound boring, but without consistency, you're not going to be successful. It's the small actions that we take every single day that add up to big results. You know that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day? Well, neither is the best version of yourself. The mistake many people make is trying to overhaul everything at once. But it's the small, manageable habits done consistently that lead to that lasting change. Let's say that you want to get healthier. Instead of jumping into 2-hour workouts and quitting after a week, start with something sustainable. Maybe it's 15-minute walk every day. Your habits should support the vision that you created. If you want to write a book, commit to writing 500 words a day. If you want to build a financial security, start by saving a small percentage of your income every month. It's the consistency that will compound over time to lead to that exponential growth. Remember, habits are a reflection of what you value. When you build them consistently, they become part of who you are. And when you're starting a new habit, it might feel uncomfortable because it's outside of your comfort zone, right? It might feel difficult, tough, but I guarantee you that the more you practice a habit, the easier it becomes until it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of your identity. And then, as the law of physics says, objects in motion stay in motion. What does that mean? Your habits are going to keep you in motion. It's going to be easier to go faster as you are in motion. It's going to be easier to keep in motion. Your habits are going to give you the momentum that you need to continue to move forward and continue to tap into your potential. Okay, the next action you can take is to learn from failures and mistakes. Let's talk about failure. I know that it's a word that most of us don't like to hear. But failure is inevitable. And not only is inevitable, but it's essential. Yes, failure is essential. It's a part of growth. Every successful person that you admire, that I admire, has failed. And let me tell you this, often more times than you think. The key is to reframe that failure. Instead of seeing it as a setback, see it as feedback. Yes, failure is nothing else but feedback. What can you learn from it? How can you adjust and become better and come back stronger? I think we grow more from our failures than from our successes. When I look back in my life and in my career, the experiences that have helped me grow the most are related with times where I failed, where I made a mistake. And you need to allow the time and the space to reflect and really ask that situation, what is the feedback that is trying to give you? What can you learn from that failure? What can you learn from that mistake that you made? And how can you adjust to come back even stronger? There's been multiple times in my life and in my career, again, that I've made big mistakes. And I was talking with a colleague, with a friend this week about this because she was a little bit agitated because she thought she had made the worst mistake in her career yet. And when she told me what the mistake was, I started laughing. Not in a not respectful way, but I'm like, gosh, if you knew the mistakes that I've made that are 10 times the one that you just made. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but as I said, it's from my mistakes, from my quote unquote failures that I've learned the most. But you need to ask that failure for feedback. It is not a setback, it's just feedback. Right? You need to ask yourself the right questions to get that feedback. Ask, what did this teach me? What can I learn from it? Don't be afraid of mistakes. They're part of the process. They don't define you unless you let them. Because I think a lot of times people believe that those failures are going to define them. And they're afraid of that. That's what they're truly afraid of. And I'll tell you, they don't define you unless you let them. Each failure is just another step towards success. If you come back stronger, if you learn a lesson from that mistake, it will not define you. Now, if you make the same mistake, the exact same mistake 10 times in a row, that might be a different situation, but we're not talking about that here, right? Okay, the next action you can take to untap into or unleash your potential is to surround yourself with supportive people. Let's talk about the people around us. One of the fastest ways to elevate your life is to surround yourself with people who inspire you, who support you, and who challenge you. The people in your life are like the soil for the growth, right? If you're surrounded by negativity or people who hold you back, it's going to be really hard to flourish. You probably heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This rings true, right? If your circle isn't elevating you, it might be time to reevaluate your circle. Seek out for people who have qualities that you admire, who are on similar paths of growth as you. People who inspire you to be better. People who are better than you. A lot of times we pick our immediate circle on people that are less capable than us because we want to be the best. We want to be seen as the strongest, right? So we surround with people who are less than us. I would say that is the worst thing that you can do for your growth. You need to surround yourself with people who are better than you, people from whom you can learn, people who inspire you, people who will support you. This doesn't mean that you need to cut people off, but it does mean prioritizing the relationships that nourish your growth. Building that supportive circle is one of the best things that you can do for your potential. Is one of the things that are going to enable you to continue to tap into that potential that you have. Okay, the next action you can take is to take care of yourself. I don't have to tell you that you can't reach your full potential if you're not taking care of yourself. What do I mean by taking care of yourself? I mean taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, in all aspects of your life. You should be the number one priority because that is how you can become the best self and be able to serve others as you tap into your potential. This includes things like your health, for example, like making sure that you're eating healthy, that you're staying hydrated, that you're sleeping well, that you move every day, that you go to your annual checkups and you're taking care of your overall health and you're implementing habits that support your health. We can do a full episode on how to do that, but you get the point, right? But also, how are you taking care of your mind, of your spirit, of your relationships, right? Like that looks like speaking up for yourself and voice your opinion. Tell your significant others how do you feel, how they can support you. Don't stay in that relationship for comfort. Cut out negative people. We just talked about that, right? So taking care of yourself is must if you want to untap into your potential. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you won't have the energy. You won't be in the mental space to be able to do any of the other things that we're talking about. Taking care of yourself for me is like the seventh habit of the 7 habits of the highly effective people, which is sharpen the saw. If you want to cut all the trees in the forest and you start cutting them with your saw and you're so determined to cut all the trees that you never make a pause to sharpen the saw, at one point it's going to become harder and harder to cut those trees. And at one point that saw is not going to help you cut any trees at all. I always remember that story. Like I can see it in my mind, the picture from the book of the 7 habits of highly effective people. So always sharpen your saw. And that is take care of yourself in all aspects of your life. If you don't, you won't be able to tap into your full potential. Don't be the one that because wants to go faster doesn't make the time to stop and sharpen your saw. You can't go without taking breaks, without taking care of yourself. You need to make yourself your number one priority. Okay, the next action you can take to tap and unleash your potential is to take action daily. If you set goals and you don't take action on them, those goals are just dreams. That is the difference between a dream and a goal, is that you actually take action on them, right? They won't come to life because you think about them. They will come to life because you take action on them. And when I take action is daily action. We talk about those consistent habits before. The same applies here with your action. One thing you can do to tap into your potential is every morning, ask yourself, what can I do today that would improve my tomorrow? What can I do today that would get me a step closer to my vision? It's not about taking big actions, because you might be able to take big action once or twice or different times in your life. There are those times in your life where you take these big, bold actions. But most of the time, it's just taking small actions consistently over time. That is the secret to get and realize that vision of yours, to tap into your potential, to be the person that can actually bring that vision to life. Because here's the thing, if you have done this right, when you set that vision is in the future. And the reason why is in the future is because the current version of yourself is not capable of living that vision yet. And the key word here is yet. You're not yet ready because you haven't yet tapped into your full potential in order to become the person that can live and bring that vision to life. And it's through action, taking action every day, and that consistency in your action, that slowly but surely, you're going to become that version of you that can live that vision. And that version of you, the difference between this version of you today and that version of you in the future is that that version of you has tapped and unleashed his or her potential. And these are the things that we're talking about today that can help you unleash that potential that you have. Another thing that personally has helped me in my pursuit of tapping into my potential and unleashing my potential, and has helped me in my journey to become that better version of me, is to practice gratitude. And yes, I have to bring gratitude to almost any topic that I talk, because it's that transformative of a practice, right? If you don't value and appreciate what you have now, you probably never will. Gratitude comes up in nearly every podcast that I do, in every topic that I talk, because it's so damn important. We often forget how many great things we have in our lives. We take things for granted and sometimes even disrespect the things that we have. I've made a habit of writing down at least 3, but I try to aim for 5 things that I'm grateful for every day. It's a great way to start or end your day, and it's the best way to get yourself out of a negative state. Because let me tell you this, it's going to be pretty difficult to tap and unleash your potential if you're in a negative state. It's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to tap into your full potential if you're in a negative state. And gratitude is that magic practice that turns that around, that can take you out of that negative space just like that. Gratitude is a way for you to appreciate the present moment or the current circumstances, not just focus on the future and what might be, but also be grounded in the present and appreciate your circumstances, because you know that those circumstances have helped you get here, but are not going to define who you're going to be, who you're meant to be, right? Practice gratitude daily and truly feel it within yourself. That is the power that can transform your life, can transform your thoughts, and is going to help you to keep going in this journey of becoming that best version of you and unleashing your full potential. A few more things I want to talk about, things that you can do to unleash your potential, is to work on your confidence, on your self-confidence. Who is that you want to be? Do you believe that you can be that person? How do you even start thinking like that person? You know, confidence, it's so exciting because once you become so proud of who you are, no one can break you. You'll still feel fear and discomfort. Those are part of our human nature. But deep down, you will know that you can do anything, that you can figure out anything. You know, self-confidence is not knowing that you can do anything, is knowing that you have the potential to figure out anything that comes your way. And when you know, because overly confident people, I think, are in danger. It's like a trap, you know, being overly confident. But self-confidence, the way I'm referring to it, it's not thinking that you can do anything or know everything. It's just that knowing inside of you, despite the fear and the discomfort, that you have the ability to figure things out. And here's the thing, you're going to need to develop that self-confidence if you want to consistently step outside of your comfort zone. Because the lack of self-confidence, in the way that I'm referring to it, is the reason why people stay in their comfort zones. You won't be able to take a step out of your comfort zone if deep down you don't have that confidence that you have the ability to figure things out. That you can go in the dark, not knowing what is there, knowing that you'll figure a way out of it, right? And as we said before, if you want to step outside of your comfort zone, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel potentially even afraid. You're going to feel fear. But do it anyway. That is the secret. Do it anyway. Do it with the conviction that you will have the ability to figure it out. The other thing that you need to tap into your potential is grit. Grit simply means perseverance. To keep going when you fail, when things get tough, when you really feel like giving up, keep going. Developing that grit to keep going despite the times that you fall is so crucial to be able to unleash your full potential. Did you know that I almost quit my podcast a couple of years ago? I was this close to give up. I was so uncomfortable. I was so afraid that I almost gave up. I was having this conversation with myself, and sometimes we're our worst critic. That negative self-talk, it can destroy everything. And I having this conversation in myself when I was not feeling worthy. Things were not happening the way that I wanted them to happen. And I got so frustrated. I was so afraid that I almost gave up. Obviously, you know what choice I made. I kept going. I did. And I don't regret it. It was a tough time where there was so much going on in my life that it was hard to make the time to record the podcast. I was in a space, in a negative space mentally, that I wasn't inspired. I didn't know what to talk about. I was really struggling to figure out what to talk about. I was feeling unworthy of coming here and talking to you about anything because I felt like my life was falling apart. But I had this vision. I had this conviction. I have this confidence that I was going to be able to figure it out, and that my purpose and my vision was more important than anything else. And that while my circumstances were difficult, they didn't define me. And I realized I had a choice, and I made that choice to keep going even though it was hard. I found the grit to keep going. And now, 2 years in a row, the podcast has been among the top 100 podcasts in the personal development space. In fact, it's been in the top 20 for the last 2 years. And I would have never get there if I would have give up. And that's not what I'm after, right? I'm not after that recognition. I'm after the impact that I can make in anyone listening at any episode. The one thing that fulfills me the most is when someone sends me a message and says, "You were speaking to me," or "Thank you, that's what I needed. You were talking to me right when I needed it," or "That was so helpful," or "That was so inspiring." That is what fulfills me the most, because that means that no matter anything else, I'm making progress. I'm getting closer to my vision. Those are the 10 habits. Now I lost count. Maybe they were more than 10 and I made up a couple on the way, but those are the things that I wanted to share with you today. There you have it. The 10 steps to reach your full potential. We talk about vision. We talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. We talk about building consistent habits. We talk about learning from failure. We talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. We talked about taking care of yourself. We also talked about having grit and working on our confidence and practicing gratitude and taking action daily. And if you do all of those things and you do them consistently, if you're focused on doing those things, you are going to reach your full potential. It's not going to happen overnight. It will happen over time. But there's going to be a day that you're going to look back and you're going to say, whoa, how much I've grown. I am a different version of myself. I want to leave you with this. Growth is a process. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. But with the right mindset, with the right habits, and with the right support, you can truly unlock the potential that's already within you. Remember, you have unlimited potential. Now it's up to you to tap into it, to unleash it, so you can become the best version of yourself. Thank you again for joining me today. Any of these steps resonated with you, take action and take action now. And as always, stay consistent, stay committed, and stay inspired. I can't wait to talk to you again next week for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. Okay, my friend, that's all I've got for you today. But before you go, 2 quick reminders. Number 1, if we're not already friends on Instagram, let's get connected. You can find me as Leading Yourself Podcast. Number 2, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am incredibly grateful that you're in this journey with me. I want to leave you with one last thought. I want to remind you that you're destined for more and that every step that you take brings you closer to becoming that best version of yourself. Embrace each day as a chance to learn, grow, and chase your dreams. The world needs you to shine brightly, so go out and show up fully and authentically. Take care, and I'll see you next time.